Alright, yo! I've been waiting to play more of this game for weeks now. Remember, this is just the first trial, the tutorial trial. 420.
Court will now reconvene. Has our witness, Miss Olga Orley, recovered?
Yes, Your Honor. Well, she's regained consciousness.
Perhaps we can hear her version of the events again.
That's the thing. You see, she's quite fatigued.
You're looking a bit fatigued yourself, Mr. Payne.
Sadly, fatigue is insufficient grounds for refusing to testify, or prosecute. The defense would like to request that Miss Orley take the stand.
Very well, the witness will take the stand.
Perhaps you could repeat your name and profession. Or perhaps you'd rather admit that you're a poor liar and a poorer loser. I don't remember what happened last time. Let's see. Oh! What's he talking about? The truth. Have my reasons. Power. Show your power. Show your power. Oh, this is odd that he managed to go undefeated. Nothing about... I don't remember. Not. Oh! Name's Olga Orley, that's the truth. I'm a pro dealer. Ah, instant. People call me Olga Quickfingers Orley. Oh.
Oh, really? Oh, really?
She's wearing a hat under her hat. Want to know something else? I'm not really Russian, and my last name sounds like Oh, really? There, that's the truth. I hope you're satisfied. Olga O'Reilly. Witness, you will tell the court what you were really up to that night. Olga O'Reilly. Fine, I'll talk. We had a plan, see.
Let me remind you that you are currently under oath. Any further fabrications will have serious consequences.
Fine. I really like this character, and I just gotta say. Like I said, I'm a pro. That guy Smith hired me to do what I do best. I was planted at the Borscht Bowl Club several days prior to the night of the game. As a waitress.
So you're in cahoots with the victim.
Not that he needed my help. Smith is a well-known poker player in some circles. But winning wasn't the main purpose of this game. It was about destroying a legend, the unbeatable Phoenix Wright. The plan was simple, elegant really. You see, we set up a trap of sorts. I was to plant a card in Wright's pocket beforehand, and then deal 5 aces during one of their games. When the hands were revealed, Smith would call him out and search Wright. He would then pull out the planted card and the trap would snap shut. You were gonna accuse him of cheating. You swapped the cards! Exposed as a cheater and losing on top of it. It would have made a great double play. Just like that, the legend would be dashed to pieces.
Indeed. Getting caught red-handed at cheating would cast doubt on all his prior wins.
A 7-year legend destroyed by one little card. My voice game is just not on today. That was the plan. Oh really, oh really. How droll. But it appears you made quite the mistake.
A mistake?
I agree, the trap was elegant. Yet, what happened to that planted card? Hey, that's right! He's lucky, I'll give him that. You'd have to slip free. You have to slip free from a trap laid by Olga Quickfingers Orley. It's a nice camera you got there.
Oh, really?
Oh, right, it's pronounced Oh, really. Olga O'Reilly.
The witness would be much cuter if she dispensed with the evil mastermind shtick.
This is my cute. Who wants to be cute?
Me? I'm not cute. I'm bad. You hear me? Bad.
When you're through being bad, perhaps you could testify to the court. Tell us about this trap and how it was sprung.
The best laid traps. That night I planted the card like I was supposed to, and Wright lost the last hand just like he was supposed to. Then Smith searched him, but the planted card was gone. The trap failed. The next moment, Wright picked up a bottle and swung it. It wasn't me who hit Smith. It was that no-good cheat independent.
A surprisingly frank testimony that still leaves us mostly in the dark.
The trap was perfect, I tell you, perfect. If that rotten cheater hadn't messed it up. Look who's talking.
Well, the testimony, for what it's worth, is all yours, Mr. Justice.
Oh, with witnesses like her, who needs criminals? And with defendants like Mr. Wright, who needs prosecutors? What? Hey, Mr. Wright has got a great, I don't want to say, poker face. What did I say? Framed for murder 3 times. That night, I planted the card like I was supposed to, and Wright lost the last hand just like he was supposed to. So, everything went according to plan. Exactly. The 5th ace came up, so it's obvious the switch went off without a hitch. Once the extra card was found in his pocket, Wright would be forever known as a cheat and a fraud.
There are worse things to be known as, I suppose.
Like a gamer. Tell us what happened with the search. That's it? Okay. The card disappeared? Yeah, my trump card, the 5 of hearts. Gone without a trace. Poof! Zippo! We searched every nook and cranny, even inside his cute little hat. But the card was nowhere to be found, is this correct? Never in my long, storied career. Never has Quick Fingers Orly been so readily Oh, really? Damn it.
Oh, really? So what did happen to that 5 of hearts?
Don't look at me. Why don't you ask that sheet in line two-faced defendant? So the 5 of hearts is still missing in action. You have no idea how much I wish there was an Apollo Justice anime. Season 4. An Ace Attorney Season 4. Or I guess Season 3, because the first 2 games were in 1 season. This planet card, which was it exactly? The trump card, the 5 of hearts.
Let me guess, Mr. Wright was to have switched the 5 with the ace to make a full house. At least that's what you are going to accuse him of doing, thereby threw it in his legend.
I slid it into Wright's pocket. When was this? Why, before the match, of course. While he was eaten. At the Borscht Bowl Club, we serve borscht and suckers.
Remind me never to go there.
Of course, the card was to make its grand debut during the game. Like a good borscht, a good plot must be cooked up early and allowed to thicken. Why didn't you just kill him? Seriously, why not just kill him? It's always gotta be this elaborate plan that never actually works. Framing for murder never works. Framing for cheating at a poker game never works. Trying to ruin their reputation never works. Just kill him. Just. The trap failed. Wright picked up a bottle and swung it. Let's look at the court record. Yeah, I'm seeing 7 of hearts. I'm seeing King of hearts, Ace of hearts. No 5. Wait, isn't that a little odd? What's odd? You searched Mr. Wright, thoroughly, and found nothing. Which means he didn't cheat. Which means he had no reason to strike the victim. Well... What was that just now? I said something.
Something wrong, Mr. Justice.
No, nothing, Your Honor. You dork. What to do? Should I press her a little harder? Let's do it. This must be that new game mechanic. Miss O'Reilly. Nailed it. You're hiding something. What are you talking about? You... Oh my god, that's her nervous. Me? Quick Fingers O'Reilly? I hate something. That's the thing. Apollo Justice, he can tell when people are lying by paying attention to their... Because everyone's got, like, a nervous tick that they do when they're lying. Like, maybe a muscle twitch or whatever. She's grabbing her camera.
The defense will refrain from baseless accusations.
I have one question for the witness, then. You say you saw the moment the defendant hit the victim. Is this true? Of course it's true. I did see it, honest. I saw it when Wright hit him. With my own eyes, I saw it. What's this weird vibe I'm getting? What's that witness, for instance? Miss O'Reilly. She would touch the back of her neck during certain parts of her testimony. Did you notice? Touching her neck, was it? Oh. This is trippy. Whoa, what's going on? This sensation. It's coming into focus. You got Shinigami eyes. There, that twitch. It's so clear. Oh, God. Wish I was streaming this on Twitch. That would have been so funny. It's like I could perceive her habit. I couldn't know. Ha! Objection! Wait, am I really just gonna say in the court of law, objection, you're lying? That's not gonna fly, Apollo. Yeah, that's not gonna fly. Like, okay, maybe a polygraph. Is a polygraph admissible in court? That's just something police do to intimidate people into telling the truth. It's all bullshit. Unaware of why. Whenever you get to a certain point of your testimony, you touch the back of your neck with your left hand. What? So what? What indeed, Justice? I hadn't noticed anything of the sort. When she says that part of the testimony, she's subconsciously recalling something. Her body reacts to the memory, and she touches her neck. Oh, that's true. I'm sure of it.
A memory? Would someone care to explain what he's babbling about?
When people try to remember something, they might look away. They say that if you look to the right, you're telling the truth, look to the left, you're lying. But I don't believe that. Matter of fact, some people, when they lie, they might be staring at you to try and prevent themselves from subconsciously looking away. The Potemkin effect or whatever.
This is highly unusual, but let's ask the defense. You claim the witness is remembering something.
I remember.
Maybe you have evidence of this memory to show us.
Trust me, that's my evidence. Her habit is scratching her neck whenever she talks about the moment of the crime. So, what would remind her most of the moment of the crime? Miss O'Reilly, when you recall the crime that night, you scratch your neck. I've noticed it happens when you think about the moment of the crime. There must be some reason behind this habit of yours. I believe the weapon that left an inerasable impression on your neck is... It's gotta be this, right? Whenever she talks about the moment of the crime, she touches her neck. And what reminds us more of that moment than this bottle, the murder weapon? But something doesn't fit. If you were only the witness to the crime, why would that make you touch your neck like you're in pain?
What's he talking about now?
It was Mr. Smith, the victim, who was hit. Not you. Or was it? Dun dun dun.
This is a cross-examination, not a cross-wild conjecture.
Okay, that's actually a pretty good line, because... Yeah, the lawyers in this game, they just come to some wild-ass conclusions. It's like... There's a contradiction in your testimony, so therefore... You must have... There was a third person in the room.
They're completely irrelevant.
Justice, I'll admit I'm a bit confused myself. It's like the L.A. Noire. Oh, they're lying. Then they must be the murderer. This is certainly a unique cross-examination. I'll explain later. Just trust me. Now's our only chance to break her. Like a Kit Kat bar. Miss O'Reilly, please testify in detail about the moment of the crime. The very moment.
I'm doing nothing.
What? Oh, that's nice. I can understand. Oh, that's nice. You're cute again.
The witness will testify, please, now.
Bah, fine. He's the one who did it. I didn't let him out of my sight until the cops got there. You seem uneasy. Wait, no. I have proof that he didn't. I have fuck. Okay, what was the defendant like? Well, he must have been stunned by the weight of his crime. He sat in a daze at that table until the cops came. Intriguing. I believe you've gotten all the testimony you're going to get out of this witness, so what do you think about her testimony? I'll tell you what I think. Her testimony is flawed. It is basically bogus. It contradicts the evidence. Release the bogus.
What's that?
Well, show us this evidence, Mr. Justice. This evidence that you claim contradicts the testimony.
She didn't let him out of her sight until the cops got there. I know there's some evidence that contradicts that. Yeah, the phone. But no. Miss O'Reilly, we have a record here that clearly contradicts what you said. It states that the police were alerted by a report from the defendant. And we know that the defendant left the room, climbed the stairs, and made that phone call from the first floor of the Borscht Bowl Club. Gah! So, explain how you kept your eyes on the defendant when he left the room entirely. Alright, the first shakedown. Something's gonna happen. The man who picked up a bottle and swung it that night wasn't the defendant. Wait, that's it? That's it? That's it? She already confesses? Like, even the fucking, even the beginning trial from the first game, that was, the witness had more lies there, right? It was all like, oh, I saw the clock. I didn't see the clock, but I heard it. You know, like, there was, like, multiple things I had to disprove. Here, you just say one that should she admit. Just then, Smith grabbed the bottle from next to right, and he hit me. Just already confessing. Some master cheating you turned out to be. When I came to,
the victim was already dead. Is that it?
That's why I couldn't reveal who I really was. If it came out that I was in league with Smith, I'd be a suspect for sure. Oh, okay. Well, this actually just got interesting. Let's go.
Well, where did this leave us?
We can't prove who did it.
Madness! This is madness! I'm dreaming. It must have been me who was hit with a bottle, and I'm imagining all this.
It appears our prosecution is at his wit's end, and frankly, I can't blame him. Mr. Gavin, what do you think about this turn of events?
Mr. Gavin, sir, I believe that, as the defense in this case, we are compelled to call Miss O'Reilly a big fat liar.
What?
Don't need to call her fat. 3 were in the room the night of the murder. The defendant, the victim, and her. And she has a motive. A motive? Her plot foiled, the witness got into an argument with her client, Mr. Smith. And the denounce? I don't know what that word is. That argument was murder.
I'm no killer. It's a trap. Someone's trying to frame me.
I don't know what voice to do with her. What tangled webs we weave when we practice to deceive. So tangled we catch ourselves in the process.
Mr. Wright?
Such a hasty conclusion. It's not like you, Christoph Gavin. Ah, what are you saying? Why not consider the other possibility, that there was another person at the time of the murder? Right, like Mr. Wright was saying before recess. A single card was swapped into the victim's hand after the murder, and the one who swapped the card didn't know 2 colors of cards were being used. A 4th person.
Ha! This theory again. Your 4th person doesn't exist.
Indeed. That's why I decided to bring this case to court. Here, where there's no escape and no chance for deception. The perfect place to catch the real criminal. People have lied on the stand before. Just look at the IDF court cases.
The real criminal?
And we're in luck. A clue to the real criminal's identity was kindly provided for us. And right at the beginning of the trial, no less.
What?
Don't tell me it was a suicide. Apollo, perhaps you know what I'm talking about. Again with the Tell him Nagito shit. Nagito. Danganronpa, but you play as Nagito the entire time. And he's the guy. Sorry. Remember what I said. The 4th person who swapped the cards made one critical error. He or she wasn't considering the color on the backs of the cards. Right. But how could such an obvious mistake occur? The cards used for the last game were red. Yet, there is one person here, in our court, who thought those cards were blue. Yeah, I had that impression too, but why? Well, Apollo, think you can figure out who it was?
It's not me, I swear.
Who is this fourth person?
And they're in the court with us? Why do I always get put on the spot like this? Let's hear what the defense has to say. Who was it? Who thought the cards used in the final game were blue? It would have been Olga. She was the dealer. Was it that guy? Or this guy? Let's try this guy first. Apollo. Oh, fuck no! Come on. Does it? Oh, shit! It does it, Kristoff? Damn it! Kristoff was gonna be my second guess.
Mr. Gavin?
You don't mean... Kristoff Gavin. You were the fourth person that night. But of course Mr. Gavin knows the color of the cards. How would he? As you can see, the photo of the crime scene is black and white. Yeah, they really gotta stop using black and white, but I know it saves ink, but it makes it hard to determine. You can't tell which of the ones are blue, the ones on the floor or the table. But look! You can see the colors in this photo. Yes, but when he said the cards were blue, it was well before this evidence came to light. Oh, come on, you can't possibly expect me to remember that. It is true that the defendant was engaged in a game of poker with the victim. Yet it was only that, a game in the purest sense. A competition, Your Honor.
A competition?
Yes, a test of wits, a silent clash of passions. Only the cards, their backs wreathed in blue flame, know its final outcome. You gotta be shitting me. Well, Kristoff? Mr. Gavin?
Mr. Gavin, is something the matter?
No, nothing. Excuse me, I was just so sudden. Right. You weren't seriously accusing me, are you? Oh, Kristoff. You know even I'd never take a joke this far. You're not known as a joker. You're kind of boring, actually.
This has gone beyond ridiculous, beyond dumb. This is insanity. A defendant accusing his own defense attorney of murder? I'm the defense attorney.
I assure you I'm quite sane.
But what possible connection can Mr. Gavin have to the victim?
I wasn't aware that I had a connection to Mr. Smith either.
Yes, but Mr. Gavin and the victim have never even met.
Well, what if they have?
Huh?
This is literally just a fucking Danganronpa-class trial now. No rules, there's no distinction between prosecutor and defense anymore. There is a possibility, after all. They may have met that night, before the game started.
What are you suggesting?
Is this the truth Mr. Wright was staying silent about? Well, only one thing to do. Mr. Wright, the defense would like to request that you testify to the court. The defense would like to request no such thing. Mr. Gavin? Testimonies must relate to the case. How could anything happening before the game of poker be related? I just at a loss for voices.
I'm not sure I follow, Mr. Gavin.
As I explained before, the defense believes that Miss O'Reilly nailed it.
Am I to assume you speak for Mr. Justice in this? He is the defense, not you. Mr. Justice, the matter of Mr. Wright's testimony is up to you.
Oh, okay.
Does the court, in your position, need to hear Mr. Wright's testimony?
Sure thing. Fuck it. I'm doing my other voice for the... This was Mr. Wright's strategy. He was planning this all along, and I intend to see it through. The defense would like to request that Mr. Wright testify to the court. It too, Justice. You would betray me, your teacher. I'm sorry, Mr. Gavin. This isn't about loyalty. This is about the truth.
Very well.
What?
Very well. The defendant, Mr. Wright, will take the stand, please.
I can't...
The defendant, Mr.
What is wrong with my throat? My voices?
The defendant, Mr. Wright, will take the stand, please.
Sure, we'll stick with that. Fuck it. Like a dog trying to throw up. That evening, Kristoff and I had dinner. We sat at the table in this photograph. Shady Smith walked in 5 minutes after Kristoff left. When the trap failed, Smith hit the witness. The girl was knocked out cold and Smith was uncontrollable. I left to call the police. When I returned, he was dead, blood streaming from a cut on his forehead. That's when I made another phone call to defense attorney Gavin.
Mr. Gavin, you were at the Bush Bowl Club the night of the murder?
I dine with him rather frequently.
And you talked to the defendant on the phone directly after the murder?
Quite against my will, I had become involved in a murder. I thought I might be in need of a lawyer, so I called him. You were planning this all along, weren't you, Wright? Just because you wanted to drag me into your little murder trial. The only thing I want is the truth. As I did back then, and now. I thought my office was doing you a favor when you took on your defense. It appears that I was wrong.
Very well. The defense may cross-examine the witness.
Justice? Sir. He's lying, and you're going to expose him. Understood, sir. Mr. Gavin versus Mr. Wright. This can't end well. I can have a normal trial.
Yeah, that's my defense. Why do I have to expose my defense's lies? Come on, man. I'm just a little guy.
That evening, Christmas and I had dinner. In this photograph. This photograph? Huh. You had dinner with Mr. Gavin. Yes, he dines with me at the... Okay, we fucking elaborated on this. We were enjoying the usual dinner at our usual spot, as usual. Usual? I always eat at the table closest to the piano.
I see. Where Mr. Smith was sitting.
So, the plates and such on the table were from your dinner.
Boy, dinner. Indeed, the remnants of my meal with Kristoff. Remnants. We dined for 2 hours, then Kristoff left. After that, oh please, it never takes me 2 hours to eat a meal. Shady Smith walked in 5 minutes after Kristoff left. 5 minutes? So the two of them could have passed in the restaurant during that time. That would have been a fateful encounter, to be sure.
Oh, Mr. Wright, what was it you said? Kristoff Gavin and Shady Smith may have met?
I believe I did say that.
Here, I was all nervous about this meeting, and now we hear they just passed in the hall.
That does seem a little weak as a pretense for murder.
Oh, would be, if that were all that really happened. Come on, Mr. Wright. Where are you hiding this time? When the trap failed, Smith hit the waitress. Yeah, we know that. The girl was knocked out cold, and Smith was uncontrollable. You made the call to the police from the first floor on the restaurant, correct? Exactly. Cell phones don't get a signal down in the hideout. Was anyone else on the first floor at the time? Not a soul. It was the middle of the night, after all. So there, in the darkened restaurant, I called the cops. After making the call, I returned to the hideout. It didn't seem right to leave the injured waitress alone. When I returned, he was dead, blood streaming from a cut on his forehead. Let's look at that photo. Yeah, that's a cut, alright. Wait. By a single blow to the... Cerebral hemorrhage resulting from blunt trauma. Yeah, that seems right. And when you returned, the victim was already dead, yes. I'll admit, I was a little startled when I walked in.
A little?
He was bleeding from his forehead, after all. I guess I'd be startled too if I walked in on such a scene like that. That's when I made another phone call to defense attorney Gavin. Could you explain why you called, Mr. Gavin? I'd obviously gotten involved in a rather sticky affair, and I figured Kristoff's law offices would give me a friend rate for my defense fees. Glad to hear you intend to pay. How painful, Kristoff. It was I who got you involved, after all. You may find the price of your defense quite high, my good friend. Quite high. Is this the truth that Mr. Wright was talking about? Yep. That good old capitalism. Justice, you know what you have to do. He's lying. Expose him now. I have to think. What's Mr. Wright trying to tell me with this testimony? The truth has to be in there somewhere. That evening, Kristoff and I had dinner. Well, 5 minutes. Well, it should press him on this just to be safe. About this failed trap. This is the same trap that Miss Olga O'Reilly mentioned. Yes, a harmless prank in essence. It was by a quirk of fate that I happened to discover it.
A quirk?
I happened to put my hand in my pocket and found a card. Yeah, I do that too. Pockets are for holding your hands. The card she planted. Yes, I snuck a peek at it and found it was the 5 of hearts. I had a feeling something might happen, so I disposed of the card. Before the game.
Disposed? Where?
There was an empty bottle of grape juice I had been drinking right beside me. I threw the card inside the bottle.
An empty bottle of grape juice?
The murder weapon? Yes. I rolled it up and shoved it in. The colored glass makes it hard to see.
A battle of wits between the deceiver and the would-be deceived. That sounds like terrific drama.
A card inside the murder weapon. That's strange. Did the police miss it in their investigation? Maybe I'll take a look.
Mr. Wright, the poker head of courtroom number 3 approves of this battle of wits. Please revise your testimony with this new information.
Ah, God. Let's see. Oh, shit, dude. I've missed it. What? No, I don't see it. Colored glass makes it hard to see. Come on, there's nothing. The bottle is completely empty. Just straight up committing perjury. Okay. God, Mr. Wright, if I may? Yes? I've examined the bottle and I don't see any card in here. No? Because that isn't the murder weapon!
What, Mr. Wright? Surely ... isn't all you have to say for yourself.
I can't say that I know what happened to the card. I did put it in that bottle, however. Huh? Perhaps a 5th person came and took it out. Oh, and a 6th person could have helped. Don't mock me!
Mr. Gavin, Mr. Wright is your client.
My apologies, Your Honor.
I won't have you disparaging our investigation either. We looked inside that bottle, and there was nothing.
So what's going on? Is Mr. Wright hoodwinking us again? Or did the card just disappear? I'm sticking with my assertion. That bottle isn't the murder weapon.
In any case, please continue with the cross-examination. I'm afraid decisive contradictions call for decisive evidence.
Oh. Push him harder, Justice.
Break him.
It's just you and the witness in the ring. Go for the KO. Why do I get the feeling we're not on our client's side anymore? Worst lawyer ever. His whole forehead was bleeding, but he was dead. There was the hat. Mr. Wright, if I may. Yes? Take a look at this photograph of the crime scene. See the victim here? He's wearing a hat. I wouldn't damn it, always the hiccups. I wouldn't think you could see blood on his forehead. Good point. Finally, we're getting somewhere. Justice. Next time you point out any inconsistency, put a little more oomph into it.
Mr. Wright, can you explain this to the court?
Ah, I forgot to mention something. I was the one who put that hat on his head.
Eh? You?
You put the hat on the dead man's head?
He wore it through our entire poker game. After calling the police when I returned to the scene, his head was in full view, shining bright, just like this in this photograph.
And
I picked his hat up off the floor and put it on his head.
Why'd you do a thing like that?
All I can say is, I'm sorry. Though that's the only thing I touched at the crime scene. So, Miss O'Reilly didn't see it. It being the victim's, his head. I'd think not. She was out cold. I believe I was the only one who witnessed his head. Here we go again. Mr. Gavin? Pardon. It just seems that our client is determined to lie his way through this case. Hey, he's still our client, isn't he? I believe that's enough of that. Mr. Gavin, this witness's testimony is more like a travesty. It's riddled with lies. I'm beginning to see how you came to lose your attorney's badge 7 years ago. Exposition! Well, you certainly have a unique way of treating your clients, Kristoff. I never knew. I believe it was you who threw the first stone. Mr. Wright, if you intend to ever tell the truth about this case, it's now or never. Don't be misled. I haven't told a single lie here. Eh? When I noticed the trap, I put the card in the bottle to dispose of it. And when I put the hat on the victim's head, let's just say I had a reason for doing that as well.
A reason?
That reason is right here. Your cell phone? That night, recall that I spoke with defense attorney Gavin after calling the police. Just in case, I recorded our conversation. What's this? Now that we're all here, I see no reason why I shouldn't play it back for the court. Kristoff, I seem to be in a bit of trouble. What's this? Game not going well? Something like that. That gentleman who challenged you, he turned out to be good. He turned out to be dead. Someone hit him. Hard. You mean someone cracked that flawless bone china pate? It wasn't you, was it? Me? Please. Cops should be here any minute. I'm in your hands. Should it come to that. Bone china plate. Why was it? Pate. What the fuck? A kind of porcelain, very smooth and shiny. And not plate, but pate. I believe he was referring to a certain gentleman's bald forehead.
The court appreciates the defendant's discretion in not indicating my forehead.
You have a beautiful head, Judge. Head. My head's not that bad. Wait a second. Something's not right about that phone call. So, after Mr. Gavin ate dinner with you, he left the Borscht Bowl Club. Most certainly. Then how did he know? When did he see this bone china pate?
Oh, that's right.
Yes. That was when I began to see my good friend in a different light. Troubled, I returned to the crime scene. And when I spotted Mr. Smith's head again, I realized exactly what was wrong. Well, Mr. Gavin, the stage has been set. Perhaps you would like to explain this to the court. Exactly how did you come by your privileged knowledge of the victim's head? So, this is your reason. The reason why you put the victim's hat back on. Your point, Mr. Gavin? It's come down to this, has it, Phoenix Wright?
Order! I will have order. Mr. Payne.
Yes, Your Honor.
I believe this court has been left with no other choice. Are you prepared to hear Defense Attorney Gavin's testimony?
Well, as the prosecutor, I...
Very well. We'll break for 10 minutes, after which Mr. Gavin will take the stand for a cross-examination. Are we all clear on that?
Crystal clear, Your Honor.
Very well. This will be the final recess for the day.
Oh, boy. Mr. Gavin and Mr. Wright are both in the judge's chamber. Who'd have thought today would turn out like this? May I?
Mischaracter!
Huh? What? Hello, sir. Please, pick a card. What's all this about? Is this one okay?
Excellent. I have a message for you. The last hand is about to be played. You'll need a trump card to make it.
A trump card?
The card you have chosen is magical. Use it wisely, and the game is yours. That's all.
An ace. Where do I remember that card from? That was the cheated card! The cheat card! That's the evidence! That's the card that cheated! Mr. Smith's hand has 3 aces and Mr. Light's 2. It is 5 aces enough. I have seen it. The 5th ace. It was cheating, I swear to you. The missing 5th ace. Wait, this splotch of red. Is this blood? Could just be tomato juice. You have your trump card. Now it's up to you to cut the deck and draw the truth. My father's fate is in your hands. I know you can do it. This blood-stained card is my trump card for finding the truth. I fell deep into thought as my mind raced to understand what this all meant. That girl. I'd seen her recently. But where? Oh, come on. That's Phoenix's daughter. That's when I made the connection. Bloody ace added to the court record. Okay. Remember, you don't play your trump card right away. Don't go gung-ho. Don't play your royal flush right away. You always keep a royal flush when playing poker. The point is, don't play poker with me.
Court will now reconvene. Defense Attorney Christoph Gavin, will you please take the stand? Now then, if you would, Mr. Payne.
Yes, Your Honor. Well, will Mr. the witness state his name and occupation?
Is this farce necessary, Your Honor?
Believe me, far stranger things have gone on in this courtroom.
Fine, I'll play along.
First, there's one thing we need to have made clear. How did you know about the secret beneath the victim's hat?
My secret? I'm guessing he means the fact that Mr. Smith was bald. Forgive my curiosity, but what is it about this fellow's head? Your Honor seems to have an inordinate interest in it. Objection! Damn, that was good. Oh! I wouldn't call it inordinate, Mr. Gavin.
But Mr. Wright?
What do you think you're doing, Wright? Wow, things sure look different from the other side. You know what I mean, Apollo? Speaking of looking from the other side, let's consider something for a second. The victim wore that hat all night, never once taking it off except for that one time. That one time being the instant he was hit.
Oh!
When Mr. Wright returned from reporting the crime, the hat was lying on the floor. Mr. Wright picked it up and placed it on the victim's head. In other words, in order to have seen Mr. Smith's bald head, you would have had to have been there in the hideout at the time of the crime. In other words, I must be the real killer? Is that what you're trying to say? Not bad, Apollo.
Mr. Gavin,
I'm afraid that I haven't been entirely honest with the court.
What?
Oh, I assure you, I had the noblest of intentions. I did it all to protect my client, Mr. Wright. Yet, I'm afraid in the current situation I see little reason to hide anything. Very well. Allow me to tell you the truth of what happened that night.
Finally, you may begin your testimony. Tell us, how were you involved in the events of that fateful night?
Oh, brother. The rage I sensed in that man that night troubled me, so I returned to the club. I went down to the basement and peeked in through the little window to the hideout. It must have been right after the murder took place. The victim was dead, as he appears in the photo. A bald head, an unconscious girl, and Wright, holding a bottle in his hand. I sensed that was not the best place for me to be at the time, and so I left. That's when the call came from Wright.
So, you witnessed the murder?
Oh, come on, For better or worse, I missed the actual moment of the deed.
Mr. Gavin, may I remind you that you are on Mr. Wright's defense team? Your testimony is clearly disadvantageous to your client.
What else could I say? I'm standing on the witness stand, after all. So you are, Mr. Gavin. And you had to testify, as you just did. You had to tell them you saw the scene of the crime through that little window. Mr. Wright? You had to say that, because that was the only probable window of opportunity. Right, Apollo? Oh,
what the fuck are you talking about?
Mr. Wright, the defense should do the cross-examination, not the defendant. Mr. Justice, are you prepared?
Yes, Your Honor. I can't believe I'm going up against Mr. Gavin. This trial is getting weirder and weirder. The rage I sensed in that man that night troubled me, so I returned to the club. That man? You mean Mr. Smith? He was different from the other customers. His aura, shall we say. I knew he was a serious poker player, but it was more than that.
So then you knew the true nature of your client's job.
Of course, but I also knew he wasn't engaged in gambling, which would be illegal. Well, it makes sense that he'd know. They were friends after all. Worried for my friend, I returned to the club. You see, I feared this Mr. Smith might be someone coming to settle an old score.
I see. What happened then?
I went down to the basement and peeked in through the little window to the hideout. The little window? You mean the one used to keep watch up the stairs? Yes, a relic of the ancient past. The Black Marketeers used it, I believe. Why did you go to the trouble of peeking in through the window? Wouldn't it have been easier to just open the door and go into the room? I didn't want to upset Wright, you see. Upset Mr. Wright? Yes, what if my fears had been unfounded? I'd be walking in on their match. Bad form, to say the least. So far, everything he's saying makes sense. I mean, if you think a murder is happening, I think I would check it. Fucking bad form be damned. Right, it must have been right after the murder took place. How did you know it was right after the murder? Really, no need to shout, Justice. I was just getting to that part of my testimony. Ah, there he is. The coolest defense in the West we know and love. Even when you're standing up there in the witness stand, some things never change. I was afraid you'd change too, right? But you haven't. You and that overbearing personality of yours. With friends like these, who needs enemies? The victim was dead, as he appears in the photo. By photo, you mean the second photograph of the crime scene. Precisely. See, he wasn't wearing his hat then. I saw his head when he was dead. And then Mr. Wright came along and replaced his hat.
Can you describe the scene of the crime for us?
A bald head, an unconscious girl, and Wright holding a bottle in his hand. Those were the only three at the scene of the crime? Yes, as far as I saw, at least.
Then we're back where we started. The killer was the defendant, Phoenix Wright. Who else could it have been? But why didn't you talk to the police?
Two reasons. First, I didn't actually witness the very moment of the crime. Second, my office was asked to defend Wright. Even after seeing what I had seen, I couldn't abandon my friend.
There must have been something else there at the moment of the crime.
Justice, I just said I saw no one, not a soul.
But that goes against what Mr. Wright said.
Ah, yes, this mysterious fourth person, who would conveniently be the real killer, I suppose. Glad to see we agree, Mr. Gavin. Let me pose a question, then. Tell me, what possible reason did the real killer have to swap cards in the victim's hand? Perhaps you can show us a reason why such a thing would be necessary. Why would he swap cards? Oh! You said earlier, jokingly, well, maybe the fifth person took the card out of the bottle. It was you, wasn't it, who took the card out of the bottle? How can I show something I can't find myself? Remember, Apollo, the card that was swapped out was the fifth ace. The fifth ace. Right.
Well, Mr. Justice, the question of why the killer would swap out a card has been raised. Can you point to a reason?
Let me say first. Show evidence. It's now or never. The defense would like to present evidence to the court. Evidence showing the reason why a card was swapped out.
Then go ahead and point out a reason, Mr. Justice. Why did the killer take the fifth ace?
Smith's hand. Damn it. No. Start playing. Okay. Let's try... No, maybe we gotta... Maybe... No, don't go gung-ho. Don't play a royal flush right away. Not yet, Your Honor.
Not yet. Pathetic. Not yet. Try not ever.
Well, Mr. Gavin.
Oh, I'm willing to wait for as long as it takes.
Great. I don't even know what the heck I'm looking for.
Apollo? Yes, sir. Don't forget, you already know the answer. You just don't realize it yet.
I already know the answer?
Take a moment to think it over again, okay? Because there's blood on it. Whose blood is it? A single drop of blood marks the front of the card. It's the fifth. Right. No clues here. Wait. Capcom, Osaka, Japan. Nice. My reason is, this.
Is that an ace?
Why, it's got blood on it. Right next to the spade.
What? What? This is insane. Why isn't I told about this? Why?
I can't imagine what that feels like.
Could this be? Could this be the missing fifth ace?
Inconceivable. How could you? What are you doing with that card? Well, that's the thing. Why is Mr. Gavin so upset? It's just a fishy card from some fishy girl. Oh, that card? It's mine. That is, I picked it up at the Borscht Bowl Club that night after the murder had occurred. I gave it to my daughter. Cards are her stock and trade, after all.
No, impossible, unacceptable. The court can't accept this evidence. It's a fraud.
A fraud? How can you be so sure? What? I would think the only person who could claim it was a fraud would be the one who took the real card from the crime scene. The real killer. Allow me to elaborate. What if this trace of blood was the reason?
The reason for?
For the killer to take the card from the scene of the crime.
Where are you going with this?
Take another look at the photo. And at the victim's head. At the moment of the crime, his hat fell to the floor, and a trickle of blood ran from his forehead down to the back of his head. Couldn't a drop of that blood have fallen on one of the cards? I suppose the killer then took the card to hide the blood.
Regardless, that evidence is non-permissible.
Oh?
Right. Regardless of how you wasted the last 7 years, you used to be a lawyer. You know what a serious crime it is to conceal evidence.
Oh, we can discuss the finer points of our legal system later. What's important now is that I've answered your question.
What are you talking about?
Yeah, it's not illegitimate evidence because it's relevant to the question. It's relevant to the fucking trial. Cause that's how the rules worked in the fucking bonus episode of The First Ace Attorney. You wanted to know why the killer would have taken a card from the crime scene. And now I've told you. That one drop of blood would have been decisive evidence, you see.
This is baseless conjecture. Baseless!
Oh, I assure you, it's quite based! What? It's amazing, really, how a single drop of blood on a single card can lead us to the truth. It's quite simple. Well, Apollo? Yes? Try picturing the scene of the crime in your head. Whoa! The DS graphics! 3D graphics! The murder took place in the hideout. The body of a luckless victim was found at the poker table. And before the killer swapped a card out, there was a single card with a drop of blood on it in the victim's hand. Given this, there is one decisive problem with the scene.
Well, what is it?
Let's keep it simple, shall we? Given that there was a drop of blood on a card, Whose position in this diagram doesn't fit? Drop of blood on the card. The victims, the killers, the witnesses, the second witnesses. Whose position doesn't fit with the bloody card? Oh, fuck. Oh, shit. Bloody card. There's blood on the card. It was in the bottle. If it was in the bottle, then I assume it's the killers. Well, for one thing, the killer's in the wrong place, I think.
You think? Mr. Justice, your job here is not to think, but to know.
Could've just stopped it at, your job here is not to think. Fuck you! Okay, well, how about if I could just look back at the court record? Number 2. Bloody card. Look, the victim was struck on the head, sending him back in his chair. You'd think any blood would fall behind the body, not onto the table in front of him. Seriously? You know, it would help if I could look at the court record while choosing, you fucking asshole. Ugh! Take a look at the photo again. If he bled in this position, the blood would fall on the floor. The blood would fall on the floor, not on the cards. It was in his hat. God damn it. Snot bubble. It was in his hat. The card was in his hat. What the hell, dude?
Why, that's right. So, what does this mean?
Let's try again. The card was in his hat. Incidentally, we were sitting in swivel chairs. Swivel chairs? Oh, man. Apollo, try turning the chair around.
The chair was facing the other way.
It would have to be. So, we have to assume that at the time of the murder, the victim's chair was facing away from the table.
When Mr. Wright returned from informing the police, which way was the chair facing?
When I came back to the room, the body was facing as seen in this photo. That would mean the killer turned the chair back around. Let's take it the next step. Look at the diagram once more. We now know that the victim was facing away from the table at the time of the murder. But this creates another significant contradiction.
Again?
Let's test your reasoning skills again, shall we? Apollo, whose location on this diagram contradicts our new understanding of the crime? The victims, the killers, the witnesses, the second witnesses? Whose location creates a contradiction if the victim was facing away? Oh, shit. So the victim was facing that way. The victim was struck from the front, correct? Indeed. Well, wouldn't it be hard for the killer to hit him from the front, sitting where his indicator currently is? I would think it'd be quite hard, yes.
Like my dick? Yes, but what you're saying makes no sense. Why would the victim suddenly turn to face the wall in the middle of a game?
I believe a sufficient reason will soon come to light.
What?
There's something in this diagram that makes far less sense, actually. Look again at the diagram. Apollo, if the victim was struck while he was sitting as shown here, where would his assailant be standing? Try marking it on the diagram. What? But... There's no room to put a mark where the killer should be. Don't worry, let's think it through and see what we find. We know the victim was facing toward the wall at the time of the crime. That's the only thing we know for sure. Try to forget about everything else. Where would the killer have to be standing to strike our fuck me? I forgot to save again. It would have to be on the side. On the side. Well, I guess the killer would have to be, here. You have got to be kidding me. killer had to be standing, well, here.
You get points for flair, but that's about all you get.
I thought I was onto something there, too.
I hardly need to point out that standing there would be impossible. The victim is facing a solid cupboard.
The killer was inside the cupboard.
Or are you claiming the killer climbed the cupboard and hit him from above?
It's simple logic, really. If this was the only place the killer could have been standing, then that means that, at the very moment of the crime... Wait, I know! At the moment of the crime, the cupboard wasn't there!
What's this now?
I mean, that's the only explanation. Right, Mr. Gavin? Your Honor, I have a suggestion for the defense. We should arrange to examine the cupboard in the hideout immediately.
Bailiff, send a team to the crime scene immediately.
Wait, really?
Have them try to move the cupboard.
Your Honor.
What?
There's one more thing your men should look for. Please give this to the bailiff.
Yes. I see. You do belong in the courtroom after all, Mr. Wright.
I do my best. This is so whack. But let's forge ahead here while we wait. Look at the diagram once again. It's been changed. The killer was standing here at the time of the crime. Then this cupboard wasn't here. Which means... Apollo, try moving the cupboard. It would have been a perfect... Oh! Thank you. If the cupboard... As you can see, the cupboard was the problem. At the time of the murder, it has to have been as shown here. Now everything is in place to reconstruct the moment of the crime. Oh my. What's this?
What is it now?
Look at the diagram of the crime scene once more. It appears we found yet another contradiction. I know what it is this time. What I believe to be the final contradiction, in fact. Huh? Oh, dang! Notice something, Apollo? Our line of deduction is rapidly approaching its logical conclusion.
Now then, Mr. Justice, please point to the new contradiction indicator. Is it the victim, the killer, the witness, the second witness? Which indicator in this diagram contradicts what we know about the crime?
The second witness. About this cupboard, are we all okay with assuming it was moved? Sure, why not? Well, if it was, something really doesn't fit. The cupboard would be completely covering up the window to the stairs.
Oh!
That's right. Someone standing outside wouldn't be able to see in. Someone like Mr. Gavin. What? What did you say? Oh, is the coolest defense in the West losing his cool? You are not in the West, motherfucker. Don't expect me to play along with your little game, right? It's only a game until someone gets killed, Mr. Gavin. And someone was, while the window to that room was blocked by a cupboard. So, Mr. Gavin, perhaps you'd like to explain to the court. Exactly where did you witness the crime scene from? Excuse me, Your Honor.
Order! This is a court of law and I will have order. Order!
Sorry. Well, we just received word from our investigative team at the Borscht Bowl Club. They've examined the cupboard in the hideout, Your Honor.
Oh, and what did they find?
Well, Your Honor, it turns out there was a secret passage behind it.
What?
Yes. I believe I mentioned something of the sort before. This is one of the tricks to the room many of our regulars know about. It did used to be a hideout for a fucking... used to be a speakeasy. I do remember him saying something about that now that he mentions it. A secret passage is a handy thing to have when you're engaged in illegal goings-on. Never know when you might need to duck away from the odds of the law. So the room has a secret passage. Where does it go? The other side connects to the restaurant above. The underworld bosses could get away from the cops. And enjoy a cold bowl of borscht, no doubt. Just like our killer. What? Borscht is supposed to be... forget it. You see where our line of simple deductive reasoning has led us, Apollo? I see it, but I don't believe it. That girl wasn't kidding when she said I needed this trump card for the last hand. At the time of the murder, the window was blocked, and the victim's hat was only off his head for the few minutes between Mr. Smith's murder and Mr. Wright's return from calling the cops. In other words, the only place anyone could have seen the victim's bald head was from inside the hideout. Well, Mr. Gavin? Come on, say something.
Dare I ask what really happened that night?
Actually, I think we can probably figure it out for this point. That night, for whatever reason, our killer had a date with Mr. Smith. A date with destiny. There he crouched, hidden in the secret passageway behind the cupboard, holding his breath, waiting for just the right moment. Then the chance came, and he took it. What? Why did you do that? Wait here, I'll get help. Miss Olga O'Reilly was out cold, struck by Mr. Smith. But his time was soon to come. Mr. Wright went upstairs to call the cops, leaving Mr. Shady Smith alone in the hideout with the unconscious dealer. Then our killer stepped out from the secret passage and into the hideout. The victim must have heard the cupboard sliding aside. He wheeled his chair around to look, and after the deed was done, the criminal must have seen the blood on the card. He would have, of course, realized the need to destroy the evidence. That single spot of blood told the whole story of the crime. Too bad for him he didn't linger any longer in the hideout that night. If he had, he might have noticed the cards on the floor, and the fact that they were all red.
Well, it seems this trial has taken yet another turn. I'm truly sorry I had to see this day come, Mr. Gavin.
Mr. Gavin?
Mr. Payne?
Yes, Your Honor.
Prosecution will continue its investigation. As for Mr. Phoenix Wright, the defendant is hereby cleared of all suspicion.
Wah!
Believe me when I say that I don't believe this has happened, Mr. Gavin, but I'm afraid circumstances call for me to issue a warrant for your arrest immediately.
Oh, no need to apologize. I rather enjoyed myself. It's not every day you get to witness a legendary attorney's dirty tactics firsthand. Your point, Mr. Gavin? Frankly, Your Honor, I'm shocked that a person of your caliber would be taken in by such a low-grade parlor trick.
Excuse me?
The defendant is cleared of all suspicion. This is hardly the time for jokes, Your Honor. Mr. Wright hasn't proven anyone's guilt or innocence here. What he has done is use illegal evidence to put the blame on someone else. And not just anyone else, but me, his own defense attorney.
Illegal evidence?
Let me ask you, Mr. Gavin, is there still any reason at present to suspect me of wrongdoing? Of course. This bottle, for instance. The bottle of grape juice Mr. Wright was drinking? How do you intend to explain away the fingerprints on the murder weapon? And not just any fingerprints. Am I right, Mr. Payne?
Actually, yes. The fingerprints on the bottle were upside down.
I seem to recall this being an issue earlier. The court and this case demand an explanation. Well, you see, the victim's fingerprints were burnt off at the chemical factory. And Christoph's fingerprints were burnt off at the chemical factory. I can think of only one reason why one would hold a bottle upside down. And it is to hit someone with the bottom of the bottle. Well, Your Honor? See how the caught fish squirms to the last... Well, Apollo? Yes? Your boss seems awfully concerned about this bottle still. But I'm sure you can come up with a suitable explanation. Just like that. Yeah. Just like what? Why would anyone grab a bottle upside down other than to... Don't let him trick you into thinking his explanation is the only legitimate one. Is there really another? Take another look at the court record. I believe you'll find a simple answer there, in plain sight. How about you just say the answer in plain words?
It would be hasty to deliver a verdict with unanswered questions, indeed. Well, Mr. Justice?
Mr. Gavin said that the court in this case demanded an explanation. The fifth ace. Got the blood, we got the... doesn't seem to be signs of the card being rolled up. It's actually easier to show you than explain, Your Honor. What? Okay, because I'm at a loss. Place that bottle on the floor next to your chair.
Excuse me, on the floor?
Yes. Now, reach down and pick it up. Without getting out of your chair.
Huh?
See? You naturally go to pick up the bottle by its neck. With your fingers upside down. But... Huh. Look at this photograph taken on the night of the murder. The defendant, Mr. Wright, sat here, playing piano, bottles of grape juice on the floor to the side of his piano bench. He would have naturally picked up the bottles upside down several times.
Wow, I can't believe it was that simple.
Not that simple, like, what the fuck? Do people do that? Do people pick up bottles that way when they're sitting down? Recall our dinner that evening, Kristoff. I was drinking my usual juice then, too. It's my boy dinner. Basically, you used the bottle on the table to do the deed, but then you must have remembered. So you went and picked up one of the bottles from under the piano, and you switched the bottles. You took one of Mr. Wright's bottles and made it look like the murder weapon. That's why we didn't find the card. That's not the murder weapon. I said that before, didn't I? The bottle isn't the murder weapon.
Order, order. What do you have to say to these charges, Mr. Gavin?
Fascinating. So this is the legendary attorney's famed tactic of misdirection. Oh man, I can't wait to see this guy's smug grin fall. What? You claim that I switched the bottle. Where is your proof? Proof? Well, that's, as I thought. More baseless conjecture. I'm afraid your bottle of proof is quite empty. I wouldn't be so sure about that. Your Honor, when you initiated the investigation of the hideout earlier, do you recall I questioned an additional investigation?
Oh, yes. I have your memo about that here. Retrieve the bottles from under the piano at the Borscht Ball Club. And here's one of the bottles in question.
What, are you going to dust that for fingerprints too? I would be surprised if any were on that but his. Mr. Gavin probably wouldn't make such a novice mistake, true. That bottle won't bear a trace of anything. Say, Apollo. Yes? Why don't you go ahead and examine that bottle? But, well, why? Just humor me. Mr. Wright, that bottle will solve this case once and for all. What? That's some bottle. Oh! The missing card! There's something inside the bottle. That's the fifth ace. But no, I saw two aces on the... Oh my god! Oh, no! Oh! The ace of spades. That's the same ace that was in the victim's hand. Or Phoenix Wright's hands. That was part of the original deck. What's this? That card. It can't be. Recall that unpleasant woman's testimony for a moment. Miss Ogo, really? Yes, our little swindling Devochka. She's not actually Russian. Probably Ukrainian. That night I planted the card like I was supposed to. And Wright lost the last hand, just like he was supposed to. Then Smith searched it. But the planet card was gone. The trap failed. Oh, wait, this isn't... You're telling me that this is the planet card you disposed of? The one you mentioned in this piece of testimony. I happened to put my hand in my pocket and found a card. Yes, I snuck a peek at it and found it was the 5 of hearts. Oh! I had a feeling something might happen, so I disposed of the card before the game.
Disposed? Where?
There was an empty bottle of grape juice I had been drinking right beside me. I threw the card inside the bottle. He never said that it was the... Oh my god. The 5 of hearts. This is the card. The bottles were swapped, and the only one who could have done that was the 4th person in the club that night. You, Mr. Christoph Gavin. Oh, here it comes. Oh my lord. That is all. Mamma mia! I'm guilty! 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 Woo-hoo-hoo-hoo. I gotta stop making that joke.
Is this your idea of revenge, Phoenix Wright? Revenge? Revenge for the events that took away your attorney's badge 7 years ago.
My past is like my logic. Straight and true. Oh, please, there's nothing about you that's straight. Nothing's changed. All I did was point the finger of justice in the proper direction. You talking about my finger? Talking about Justice's finger? Fine. I'm glad we could have this little fuck, I don't speak Spanish. This is insane.
What about me? Don't I get to prosecute anyone?
Get to prosecute him in his trial. I'll have a trial. Christoph will have a trial. Ah, well, who am I kidding? It's gonna be Edgeworth who prosecutes.
I believe this time we've finally come to the end of our trial. Mr. Payne, do you have a report on us for us on Christoph Gavin?
He's admitted everything. We're processing his arrest now.
Oh, I see. Still, one has to wonder why he would do such a thing. He didn't even have a connection to the victim, did he?
He just wanted to frame Phoenix for murder.
None that we know of.
Mr. Wright, have you anything to add?
I'm afraid I can't shed any more light on the matter.
About this victim, Mr. Shady Smith. His occupation was listed as traveler. An odd profession, to be sure, but that's all we know about him.
I'll arrange a follow-up investigation, Your Honor.
Good. Mr. Wright?
Yes?
7 years, and you still haven't lost your touch.
Christoph Gavin was a man with much significance for me, both as a friend and a lawyer.
He was extremely talented, to be sure.
I needed two things before I could confront him. The first was a place where no injustice would be tolerated, this courtroom. Second was a man who would tolerate no injustice. In other words, a defense attorney. You, Apollo.
Me?
This is a dark time for our legal system. A twisting of justice brought on by our very own initial trial system. We have to set it right.
Mr. Wright.
Our work lies ahead of us, and I, for one, am looking forward to it.
Well, this seems like a good time to announce a verdict. This court finds the defendant, Mr. Phoenix Wright.
Yay!
Court is adjourned.
$4.20, baby. Do you even smoke weed? No, it smells weird. And browns are good enough on the raw. And also, is $4.20 a weed thing? That's such a good find. Thanks, Apollo. You came through just like I thought you would. I'm pretty sure I didn't do a thing in there. It was you who cornered Mr. The killer. I couldn't have done it myself. You sensed it too today, didn't you? Your ability. Ability? Yes, a sensitivity I lack. You'll come to understand it soon enough. Wait, I wonder if he means your ability to detect lies. I have one question for the witness then. You say you saw the moment the defendant hit the victim. Is this true? What is this weird vibe I'm getting? What was that, Mr. Wright? You'll have to find the answer to that question yourself. The answer? Right. Today was full of questions without answers. Most of them about Mr. Gavin. What possible reason could he have had to commit murder? Perhaps you'll learn that in the days to come. Huh? Wait, you don't know, do you? This locket is the key. Huh? Oh, that reminds me. I met the girl whose picture's in your locket. She'll be important too. Your daughter, right? That's right. She's my daughter. You know, you were right about this locket. I don't even remember why that locket was important in the trial. I took this off his neck the night he died. But it looks like our dear Russian scam artist saw me. So the truth is, this locket really did belong to him.
Wait, but that's perjury! You testified! You said that locket was yours!
I said no such thing, actually. Huh? I merely said that it was a locket with my daughter's picture inside. Subtle distinction, but a distinction nonetheless. And it's the truth. Wait, but then, why? Why was the victim wearing a locket with a picture of your daughter inside it? Sometimes the serious path to the truth isn't the best one. Give it time. You're still just getting started with your career. Speaking of which, I may be out of a job. I work for Gavin Law Offices after all. I still can't believe I just saw Mr. Gavin get led away in handcuffs. Apollo? Yes? How about coming to work for me?
Eh? You mean at the Wright & Co. offices?
I mean, there's not a single attorney in my generation that doesn't know it. I can't imagine that to be true, but... Wait, but didn't you... You're not a... Oh, I turned in my badge, yes. I'm not an attorney anymore. That incident 7 years ago. A legendary trial. And at the middle of it all was one man. Phoenix Wright. The case reached its sad conclusion, and he left law for good. Have you ever thought about going back to the courts? I'm not qualified to stand in a court of law, I'm afraid. Didn't you notice in today's trial, there was a single piece of forged evidence? Forged evidence? What are you talking about? I'm talking about evidence that shouldn't have existed. A naughty magician's trick. One piece of evidence struck me at odd, it's true. Just seemed, well, too perfect. I'll bet this was the forged evidence. Oh! The missing ace. Was it the... It was the card. You mean this, don't you? I got this from your daughter, Mr. Wright. Yes, that card couldn't have been found at the crime scene. Why? Because the killer took it with him when he left, leaving the wrong card in its place. Luckily for us. Can't accept. Would be the one who took the real card. Oh! He did that same trick in the last game! With the fucking phony Phoenix Wright! He said, this is the poison. No, that's not the poison. The poison is in a brown bottle. Ha! How do you know what's in a brown bottle? He fucking... My verdict was already handed down 7 years ago. And you really... Yes, I forged this card. One look at the crime scene should have told you it wasn't real.
But you can't do something like that and call yourself an attorney.
Who's calling themselves an attorney, Apollo? So it's true. The rumor is true. 7 years ago? None of that matters much now, does it? I punched him!
Yeah.
It's your story from here on out, Apollo. Perhaps I can help you turn to the next page. My office's address. Drop in if you like. Mr. Wright. Oh, about your uppercut. Try yelling, "Take that," next time. I find it packs a little more punch. Apollo just destroying Super Smash Brothers. Ugh! And Apollo, thanks for today. I had a good time. Bro, what? And with that, Mr. Wright locked out the door. And that's how my first trial ended. A lot of mysteries went unsolved. And at the time, I had no idea they were all related. Every mystery that day, connected by a single thread of logic. I'd find that out soon enough. My name is Apollo Justice, attorney at law, and this is how my story begins. Wow, pretty heavy stuff.